Hello, everyone. This is Mr. Honeyett today, and today we're going to be talking about the different types of family. So you have a set of notes that you are going to fill out, and as you go through, you're going to go through and look at these different types of families. And this is going to be part of our unit. So let's go ahead and get started. So, what is family? Okay, so this is two or more persons related by birth, marriage, or adoptions who reside in the same household or a group that love and support and care for each other. Now, one of the biggest ways that we're going to be looking at this is more from a governmental standpoint, i.e., the people who you live with and associate with every day that live within your household. The role is the parts that one play when interacting with others. So, what are your roles? What is your job in your family that you live in? What do you do? This is always something that is very important. So, we're going to be discussing roles later on, but it's just something to think about. Some of you have different roles in terms of taking care of your siblings, taking care of the house, whereas, a lot of times your parents have different roles in terms of providing, a shelter and a place for you to stay and things of that nature. So we have these different family types. The first one is the nuclear family, which is a mother and father and one or more children, biological or adopted. So a mom, a dad. In some cases, you obviously have cases with two moms, two dads, however you want to spin it, and then one or more children. So there's lots of advantages to this. Obviously, two people sharing parenting responsibilities, financial responsibilities shared. Once again, you have examples of male and female role models. And then in cases, disadvantages, one parent is home a large. So next we have the single parent family, which is this one parent and then one or more children. And this is 25% of all the families in the US, and it is rapidly growing. So 84% of these are female headed. Now, when I mention this, I am not saying this is a good or a bad thing. I'm just stating this is the statistics. All right. Statistics, they are just statistics. Okay. So, half of all children will live in a single parent home before the age of 18. All right. And once again, a lot of people talk about single parent families as if this is like this horrible thing, like dads walking out or mothers walking out or things of that nature. But things have happened where single parent families exist because of deaths in the families and things of that nature. My dad raised me as a single parent for some time after my mother passed away. So I know I've been there. I know exactly what that's like. So the number of single parent homes has more than doubled in the past 20 years. Once again, this is increasing. All right. So another thing about single parent families, the advantages, a lot of times they learn responsibility. Children tend to learn responsibility, more independence, and then can be more stable at times because they have that sense of responsibility and they learn to take care of themselves. And then there's disadvantages where there isn't a lot of help around the house sometimes. There's less free time and then less money. And then, they talk a lot about role models, and a lot of times these role models come from other areas of the household, or correction, outside of the household. So, for example, aunts, uncles, cousins, they come from outside your coaches, that sort of stuff. Next, we have blended family, which is also known as the step family, which is two parents, one or both of whom have had children from previous relationship, also known as step siblings, step parents, siblings, and half siblings. So there are many advantages to this. Obviously, the adults are sharing the responsibility once again, but the big disadvantage is that there's going to be an adjustment period. There's going to be need for patience. Once again, adjust. So next we have the extended family. This is where all of the immediate relatives of the family, for example, grandparents, aunts, and uncles, and they all live within a household. So this is one of those situations where, for example, you may live in a house with your parents, and then maybe grandma, grandpa, maybe live with y'all, or maybe your aunts, or maybe you have like an aunt that lives with y'all as well. So that is more of the extended family. As once again, we're looking at family as who lives in the house. Okay. So advantages, obviously, you have a lot more help with responsibilities. There's more people around, and then you have a little bit more support because once again, you have more people around and more people to support you. And then obviously there could be more money, especially if these relatives are bringing in that sort of that sort of income. The disadvantages is less room, less room, less privacy, and this sort of stuff exists from the standpoint of you have more people in the house, so there's less space and less privacy for you to do what you need to do. And then difficulty getting along because there are so many personalities within a household. Next, we have what's called the cooperative family. This is one that a lot of people aren't very familiar with, but it is a growing it is a growing type of family. So this is where you have non-related people who get together to rear their children in one household. Now, when I say rear the children, child rearing is the technical term for raising your kids. Not raising your child, it's child rearing, or rearing your children. That's what it means. And basically, you have two non-related people. So let's say, for instance, you have you have like two females and they were roommates in college, and they end up having kids, and maybe they're going through some stuff, and so they're just like, well, our husbands aren't doing, they maybe get divorced or husbands pass away. So what happens is they decide that they're going to live together, nothing romantic or anything, but they're going to live together and raise their family together. So this is also that. You can also have family friends. So two families who live in the same house that are family friends. Once again, this is a big thing where a relationship in terms of a romantic relationship does not exist. This is strictly two separate families that live in the house to rear their children within the same household. So there are lots of advantages. So you're going to have a lot of support. Once again, shared responsibilities, but the disadvantages also come from where that's an adjustment when you have two different people who are coming together um, to rear their children in one household, but yet they're not related from that standpoint. Maybe they have different ways of doing things and things of that nature. So families without children, this is just something that you need to write. It's known as the forgotten family. There's no writing on this one, but you need to write down that it is known as the forgotten family. Oftentimes, people don't realize that a family without children is still a family. A husband, a wife, a husband, a husband, a wife, whatever the structure calls for, a family without children is still a family. A lot of times, you'll hear them referred to as like fur baby families or things like that because they have, a little doggy or something that they take care of, but they refer to their dog as the child and whatnot. But at the end of the day, the family without children is known as the forgotten family because oftentimes people forget that they are still a type of family. Okay. So this is just some interesting type of just some interesting statistics. So, children living in a blended family, um, typically you got about 8 million across the world. Children living with both parents and full brothers and sisters, 10 million. And then children living in extended families, 15 million, as well as children living in one parent families, 33 million. So, there's a lot of different family types. And as you see from this, a lot of people always look at the idea of the nuclear family being the ideal household. And while people think of that as the ideal household, it is not exactly what a lot of children are experiencing in the time. And what we're seeing now is that, in many cases, a lot of people like to talk about how one parent families are, the terrible thing and that it's like, the downfall of society. And in some cases, that can be a very hard life to live, living in a single parent family. But in some cases, once again, um, this is also a thing where I have heard stories where people voluntarily choose to live in single parent families or create the single parent family situation for the protection of the kids. For example, I've had a friend of mine, she had a child with this gentleman, and the gentleman was not a good person, very abusive, just ultimately not a person that her child should not be around and that she should not be around. So she made the move to get a divorce and eventually um, get full custody of her son. And the dad did not want anything to do with the family. He just wanted to be able to control these two people. And once she was able to leave, she was actually able to help take care of her kid and give her kid the best life possible. And they are doing extremely well now. And she's openly said she's like the hardest part of that was dealing with the stigma, because now she's going to be this single parent and people are going to look down on her, when in reality, sometimes people have to make certain decisions for themselves and for their kids. And that's one of the biggest things that you can think about in this, is you have to consider each of these situations in a case by case basis, and not to say that it's all a good thing or it's all a bad thing. These are just statistics. These don't delve in and tell the stories of each individual case. So another American family types, living alone. So in that case, if you're you have people who do live alone. 1 in 24 adults do remain single throughout their entire life, and there's nothing wrong with that. Some people just prefer it, and it just is that way. It just is what it is, but it's still considered a family type. And then grandchildren moving in with, or grown children moving in with their parents, is still a thing now, because what you're seeing now is that with the recession happening and with how jobs are harder to come by and with the competition for jobs, a lot of times you have children who move back into their parents' house even at the age of 25, 26, things of that nature. And then finally, looking at relationships. This is just considering, I just want you guys to think on this. What is the relationship? It's an interaction between two or people, and then who it is, parents, siblings, spouse, grandparents, and then constantly changing. And then the individual is going through various stages of life cycle while family is going through its cycle. This is just something just to um, tag on to the end of. And then the functions of the family, you want to have your family have its functions of the emotional support, um, economic support, as well as recreation. You want to spend time with your family and have fun and things of that nature. You want them to support you emotionally. You want them to make sure that you are supported economically. And then once again, childcare and guidance. Many of you are there because many of you have been there because you know that you've been taken care of by your parents, but at the same time, as a family as a whole, many of you have taken care of your siblings and given them guidance, kinship and being with each other and bonding with each other, and obviously housekeeping. So that is just one of the things that I want you guys to think about in terms of, what are the functions of the family, other than, oh, they just supposed to love and care for you, that kind of stuff. There are specific functions of that the family of that it has, and you go through that, and many of you all fall into the lines of helping provide for these types of. So a healthy family, once again, spends time together, shows trust, shows respect, expresses understanding and love, and then establishes tradition